We're interested in this interaction between poverty, inequality, and growth. And what we're really interested in is income distribution. How do we represent the distribution of income? You do something like that. You have income along here and the fraction of population up there. So there are three things about a distribution like this that might be of interest to us. First of all, it's the mean of the distribution. Let's call that M, the mean of the distribution, the average. And of course, the change in the mean is the growth in the economy. Okay. The second thing that we're interested in is something to do with the spread of this distribution, the inequality of this distribution. You know, how far away are the rich from the poor? And let's call that I for inequality. Okay. And I believe Alan talked yesterday about the Gini coefficient, which is a measure of inequality. It's a measure of the spread. But there are many other measures of the spread. You can think of all sorts of statistical measures. So there's the average, there's the spread. And then there's a third thing which we're interested in, which is something to do with the lower end of the distribution, and that's poverty. And how do we get to that? We say, well, let's define something called the poverty line, which cuts off people at the bottom from people not at the bottom. And let me draw that here. Let's say, and we call that the poverty line Z. So, here are three things, okay? There's mean, there's inequality, and there's poverty, which we would call P. And obviously these three things are related to each other, right? Because they all come from the same distribution. The mean, inequality, and the poverty. Let's do some exercises, just some sort of finger exercises, on how these things might be related to each other. Holding the average constant, suppose the spread increases. What does it mean for there to be inequality in the distribution? More inequality in the distribution is that there are more rich people and more poor people. What I just said to you is that when holding the average constant, if inequality increases, poverty increases. So that's a basic conclusion, very obvious. Holding the mean constant, when inequality goes up, poverty goes out. Another exercise. Holding inequality constant, suppose the average goes up. Then it must be the case that poverty goes down. And I'm just moving everybody to the right, holding the spread constant. Let's now try combinations of these things. Suppose the mean goes up and inequality comes down. Both forces are pulling in the same direction, poverty must go down, right? Because holding inequality constant, if mean goes up, poverty must come down. Holding mean constant, if inequality goes down, poverty must come down. Therefore, both are moving in the same direction, so poverty must come down. Okay, let's try another combination. Suppose the mean comes down and inequality goes up. Obviously, now poverty is doubly down. Well, there's only one combination left, right? When mean goes up and inequality also goes up. Well, now the forces are pulling in opposite directions. The average part is tending to lower poverty, but that mean is going up. But inequality is also going up, and that's tending to pull poverty up. What's it? Well, it's the net effect of two forces, so we can't tell. It's an empirical question as to which of those two forces is stronger. Okay? So we don't actually know, in this context, what poverty will do. Consider the following scenario. Productivity increases. are taking place, but they're taking place in such a way that the productivity of skilled workers is increasing much faster than the productivity of unskilled workers. Then there'll be growth, because all productivities are increasing, but the productivities at the top end are increasing faster than the productivities at the bottom end. What I just described to you is rising mean and rising inequality. And actually, what I've described to you is the scenario that is happening in terms of global technical progress. The global trends in technical change are such that they are benefiting capital relative to labor, skilled labor relative to unskilled labor, urban conglomeration relative to rural, and that is giving you both growth and rising inequality. The role of inequality is central in this. Because the higher the inequality, the less will growth translate into poverty reduction. There are two other reasons why we worry about inequality, and I think those were both discussed yesterday. One is we care about it for its own sake. We may take the view that a decent society should not have too large a difference between rich and poor. That, I think, is relatively obvious and relatively clear. But there's a second reason, and this goes back to your question, which is that high levels of inequality seem to impede the growth process itself. Okay. I want to talk about measurement of poverty in terms of a concept, and measurement of poverty in terms of where does the data come from, how are they actually collected, and what are the pitfalls of those numbers. That's what I now want to move on to discuss. Suppose we have these income data from somewhere, and suppose it looks like this: 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Okay, so there are 8 people in this society, and the incomes are 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And suppose the poverty line, this poverty line Z, is 9. Okay. So in this setting, there are 3 people below the poverty line. 3 out of 8 people are below the poverty line. The question I want to raise is, what is poverty in this society? One is to simply say poverty is the fraction of population below the poverty line. And that's what we've been using here. Really. That's the concept we've been using. And so that is the so-called head count ratio measure of poverty. 3 out of the 8 people in this population are in poverty. I will call this measure also P0 for a reason which will become clear to you. This is the measure that's used every year that comes out in every country. This is the measure that's used to evaluate Republican administrations versus Democrat administrations in the US. About 35 years ago, Amartya Sen posed a very simple question. Did a very simple thought experiment. He said, suppose I was to go to the poorest person in this society and take a dollar away, take a rand away from this person, and throw it into the sea, so that this 4 becomes a 3. I've just made the poorest person poorer in this society. All our intuitions must tell us that poverty has gone up in this society. Surely, come on. I've just gone to the poorest person and made that person poorer. What's happened to the head count ratio measure? It hasn't changed. Absolutely. So, the most commonly used measure of poverty does not respond to Sen's thought experiment, which is that when you make the poorest person poorer, poverty should rise. So the headline measure of poverty, you looking at this society, you would say, the poverty has not changed. And yet we all know that every poor person in this society has been made worse off. And that was Sen's point. Sen's point was, surely something is not right. Suppose I, as a government, okay, work really hard to raise 4 to 5. It's not going to be shown in the statistics. So in some sense, it's not going to be rewarded, quote unquote, in the indicators. And that's really the point. The point is that this measure, the most commonly used measure of poverty, it forces us to focus only on the numbers of the poor, not on how poor the poor are. Well, how do we get around this? Well, one possibility is to take the average income of the poor and see how far below the poverty line that average is. So if we take 4 plus 6 plus 8 divided by 3, that's the average income of these three. I'm going to subtract it from the poverty line, give you the gap between 9 and the average income of the poor, and I'll take it as a percentage of the poverty line itself. So what is the percentage shortfall of the average poor person from the poverty line? That's what that is. So I take the average of these three, subtract from the poverty line, which gives me the gap between 9 and the average, and I take it as a percentage of the poverty line. So the average poor person is 30% below the poverty line or whatever. So this measure is immune from sense critique. But now consider the following. Consider the following society, where I simply replicate every poor person. 4, 6. So where there was one poor person before, I now put 2. This measure will not change, because the average will remain unchanged. I'm going to get 4% divided by 6. But I've just doubled the number of poor people in society. Surely it can't be right that when you double the number of poor people in society, poverty is unchanged. What's going on is that this measure is focusing on the numbers of the poor. This measure is focusing on how poor the poor are. And our intuitions tell us both are important. Both are important. I need both in play. But how do I get both in play? Well, why not multiply the two together? And both will be in play, right? So why don't I take H multiplied by I? And I'm going to call that P1 for a reason that will become clear. Now, this measure, H times I, is immune to both those experiments, right? Because when I make the poorest person poorer, this bit goes up, even though this doesn't change. When I replicate every poor person, this bit goes up, even though this doesn't change. So the two are there together. If I was to write this out, and you could do this as an exercise later on, it's a simple arithmetic, it'll look like this. It'll be 1/8 into the following. 9 minus 4 over 9, plus 9 minus 6 over 9, plus 9 minus 8 over 9. Okay, what is this thing? What is this animal? Remember, this animal here is the product of the two. So it is good because it answers both of sense questions, right? It is immune to those thought experiments. What is this thing? Well, just look at it. What it says is, I go to each poor person, look at the gap of their gap from the poverty line, 9 minus 4, 9 minus 6, 9 minus. I take it as a percentage of the poverty line. 9 minus 4 over 9, 9 minus 6 over 9, 9 minus 8 over 9. Add up all the percentage shortfalls of every poor person. So every poor person is represented here. So the numbers as well as their shortfall are being represented here. And then I take it as an average of the total population. 1/8 is the total population. But the key thing to focus on is this thing. What I'm doing is I'm going to each poor person, taking their gap, percentage gap, and then adding it up and saying, this is the total. Well, we may have thought this solved sense problems, but here's another thought experiment. Go to this person, poorest person, take a rand away from that person and give it to the next poorest person. Has probably gone up a lot now. I've gone to the poorest person, made that person poorer, although I've made the next poorest person better off. More poor. Okay, let me do another example. Suppose I was to take a rand from this person and give it to this person who is just below the poverty line. I have benefited the person who is only just poor at the expense of the person who is the poorest of the poorest of the poor. In other words, what I'm saying is that how big, not only does the gap matter, but how big the gap is matters also. How do I give bigger gaps bigger weight? A mathematical way in which you emphasize the size of the gap is that you square the gap. If I was to square the gap, okay, then this gap of 4, this gap of 5 becomes 25. And this gap of 3 becomes 9. And this gap of 1 stays at 1. As policy analysts and implementers, we don't need to know the detail of these things, but we need to conceptually understand that when somebody claims that this measure has gone up, roughly speaking, what's going on at the back. As you keep on raising this power, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you're giving more and more weight to the poorest of the poor, poorest of the poor, poorest of the poor, till you get to the point, ultimately, that the only thing that matters is the poorest of the poor. That all policy is targeted towards making the poorest of the poor better off, and it doesn't matter what happens. Everything else is instrumental to that. Okay. That's known after the famous philosopher called Rawls, John Rawls, and he put forward a philosophy, a theory, which was called the maxi-min theory. What was that? It is that you maximize the minimum. Okay. That's a conceptual point. I'm saying you will never see that. Okay? In actual practical things, from written things from the World Bank and IMF and the Treasury, etc., you'll just see P0, P1. So where do these numbers come from? Where do these 4, 6, 8 numbers come from? They come from a number of sources, again, as you know, but primarily they come from household surveys. It's actually not income that we use, it's expenditure data that we use. And this is true whether it's South Africa, whether it's India, whether it's whatever, Bangladesh, any of these countries. It's household survey data. Where do we get these from? How do we carry it? Well, there's a household survey. What happens when the enumerator actually gets to the household? You have to first of all select the household, right? So you have a census listing, and then you do a sampling, cluster sampling, all that sort of stuff. But eventually, let's say 30 households are identified in this group. Somebody then has to go and implement the questionnaire. And there's a food expenditure module, and then there's a non-food expenditure module, etc. But you know, a lot is going on here. It's not just selection of the household, which comes from the census listing. That you can think of as being sort of a technical thing. But who's the respondent? Who are you, the numerator, going to choose as the respondent in this household? Are you going to choose the lady of the household? Are you going to choose the old gentleman who's sitting in the corner to whom everybody is paying due obeisance? Okay? And those things become particularly, I mean, they're relevant obviously even in the standards of the expenditure side, but they become particularly relevant in the context of health and family planning sort of questions and so on. What happens is you get this information. How many items are there just in the food module? In excess of 60 or 70. Because part of the reason for these things is that you want the CPI, you want weights for the CPI from this stuff, okay, in many countries. So you want as detailed a set of whatever. Now just imagine yourself being asked, how much did you spend on this? On the detailed food items. And by the time the 45th question is asked, are you really giving accurate? But anyway, enumerators are trained to probe, to this, to that, etc., etc. What you then do is you add up all those expenditure thing, and that is the total, and then you get non-food stuff. Okay. Anyway, you add up all those things. And suppose, in fact, you come for one household, suppose you come to 10,000 for one household, and 15,000 for another household. Well, but suppose this house is a rural, rural household, this house is an urban household. Prices are higher in an urban area, let's say. Some prices may be lower, they may be higher. So expenditure is not enough. You have to have what the prices were of these things. So you have to then correct for a price differential between these two. So you have to have a price index. Let's say between rural and urban areas, or for large countries like India, between different states, between different provinces, different states, and so on. Okay. So you have to have a price index which corrects for these things. So that what you see is, if you like, the real expenditure, correcting for price changes. Okay, suppose we have two households where we've done this correction, and they do. And the two households both have 10,000. Suppose this household has 5 members, and this household has 3 members. Obviously not the same. So what do? We do an obvious thing, which is we take a per capita measure. So we treat this observation as 5 observations of 2,000 each. And we treat this pair as 3 observations of 3.3 K, 3.3 K, 3.3 K. And that's what's going into your 468. So you're stringing these numbers out. They come from a household level data, household level expenditure. You divide by the number of people in the household. Okay? And then you give to each person in the household the average consumption of that household. Now here's a problem, here's an issue. So we have two households, 10,000, 10,000. Both have 5. Both have 5. But this household has 3 adults and 2 children. And this household has 3 children and 2 adults. Now what? Because they're always still the same households, right? How are we going to correct for this? Because children might need more, they might need less, we don't know. It might differ from country to country, etc., etc. Okay. Well, this leads to a literature which is known as the adult equivalent scales literature. Adult equivalent scales. But I'm not going to talk about it because by and large, statistical agencies don't do this sort of stuff. By and large. We go back to the standard thing. In other words, we ignore the composition of the household. We simply take the total number in the household and divide the total expenditure by that and come up with the per capita number. So we don't, typically in India, in Bangladesh, even in South Africa, am I right in that? And why don't we do it? Because it's a contentious thing. And how are you going to give weights between adults and children? Yeah. In countries that do it, UK for example does it, not officially, but as a side thing they do it, it's 0.5. A child is 0.5 of an adult. Well, why 0.5? Why not 0.7? Why not whatever? But the fact of the matter is that the numbers that you see do not account for household composition variation. And if the composition of the household is very different in rural areas than in urban areas, or across ethnic groups, or across regions, then our measures don't take that into account. Our statistics, our data calculation don't take that into account. Okay, well, suppose that problem wasn't there. Suppose, in fact, we had these two households, each of whom, this is another variant of the same thing, had 4 members, except that this one has 2 men and 2 women, and this one has 4 women. Or actually, I mean, this has 3 men, 1 woman, let's say. Same point, really, but something else here. Something else. You see, when I was talking about adults and children, I was talking about what are the needs of a child. And I said, so what is the adult equivalent? And then I said, well, everybody gets the equivalent of the adult. And that's what we don't do. Here, there's a real issue about intra-household division of resources. So even if the needs, in some sense, were the same, the question is who gets the resources within the household? So I'm just giving you a very quick rundown on how these numbers are built out. So when you see that that ratio is this, it's gone through all this to actually arrive at that number. You remember those countries where I said mean has gone up, inequality has gone up, but poverty, question mark, but in many of those countries poverty has in fact come down. India would be a case, Bangladesh would be a case, South Africa a little bit, and so on. But my point is the following, that if you take these good poverty numbers to the people in the street, they'll laugh at you. And I think I've already touched on some of the reasons why. The numbers that we have, the way we're collecting these numbers, may be masking things. And yet, at the national level, technocrats, I suppose like me and like some people in the room, will be using these national level figures in this way. And there's a disconnect between that and what civil society is saying to you on the ground. Well, can we locate that disconnect in something more precise in this data? Well, here's one. You see that expenditure stuff? The expenditure stuff is it how much you spend on food, how much you spend on this, how much you spend on that, okay? What about non-market items? Here's how it works. They say, do you grow any food for your own consumption? And they say, yes, how many bags do you do? If you had bought it in the market, how much would it have cost you? Is the question. And then you add that to the bit that says how much you spend on things, etc. You add it together. But what about publicly provided services? What about the health post? What about the education system? There are separate modules which tell you, for example, how far you have to walk to collect water, how far do you have to go to do this, etc. There are separate modules to collect that. But if, in fact, the health post in your village does not have any medicines to offer, if the bus service from your place to another place where you have to work has been cancelled, if this or that, etc., those are non-market publicly provided services which have real value to people, but the value of those is not incorporated into our expenditure category. So you find particularly in economies that are undergoing so-called structural adjustment, that are undergoing massive movement from public to private and so on, okay? That our numbers, the numbers that we produce these things, show quite a good outcome, because market expenditures are not doing too badly. But it's the value of public services which is going down, and that is not captured. And of course, civil society on the ground, that's exactly what they're picking up. And let me make a final point. Look at this number, okay? 3 out of 8. Suppose things change over a 10-year period. The population doubles to 16, but the number of poor increases to 6. The headline poverty measure is unchanged. That's clear. Instead of being 3 over 8, it's 6 over 16. It's just the ratio is still the same. But there are twice as many poor people in the streets. So the technocrat will say, look, the incidence of poverty has remained unchanged. In fact, maybe it has improved. But if I'm an NGO working with indigents on the street, with homeless children in the street, I see more of them coming. Again, it's not that one person is wrong and the other person is right, it's just the perspective is different. For one person, it's the absolute number of poor that matters. For another person, it's the number of poor relative to the total population that matters. And particularly in African countries, in those countries where population growth is very high, This is a major disconnect. When you're looking at national things, always ask the question, what's happened to the absolute number of poor? Absolute number of poor. But that may give you a handle on civil society reaction on the ground, as opposed to the fraction of poor, which is what our standard ultimately